But I think the development of full artificial intelligence will spell the end of the human race.
It's a flying object, and we don't know what it is. I would hope somebody's checking it out.
I don't know whether rockets or whatever, but incredibly fast, opposite direction. They were too fast to be in airplane.
I'm glad the Pentagon is looking at this, because if it poses a threat, I want them on top of it.
Well, the craft generates its own gravitational field.
So you said there's lights in the sky?
The internet has become the command center for criminals and terrorists.
911, what's your emergency? I need help, please help me!
Aliens won't let it happen. You know, that's what we're instructed to say.
Roswell, Area 51. Alien kept deep under the ground.
1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 0.
Doesn't have your best interest in mind. The government is self-serving. You're here for a reason. You're listening to Troubled Minds Radio. Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness. Well, good evening, and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting. And, of course, 88.4 FM, Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, we're taking your calls as we go deep. As usual, look, the whole point of the show is to get weird, to kind of look at the world in different ways, and to consider what we've missed, or maybe what's coming. And that's what this is all about. It's what it's always been about. And thanks for enjoying the journey with me. Tonight, okay, so I've been digging and saving some articles and things, and look, that Trickster Summer event is still going. Like every time I turn my head and look at the next thing, it just keeps popping. So it feels as if like this was some of the stuff that we really sniffed out as part of that larger conversation. But beyond that, it turned into, well, a culmination of celebrities and James Franco, and we'll get to that. We'll stack that on another time. But Dr. Phil, Neil deGrasse Tyson wrote a book about this recently. I mean, yeah. So the Trickster event and the UFO summer of disclosure, the disclosure summer seems to be in full effect. Just screaming loud and clear, coming right at you, and it's not seeming to let up. So we'll get back to that. Tonight, we're going to do something a little bit different because I found some articles that are very interesting. Now, you know me, I like to look at these things and go, well, what the hell does this mean? When I find a new article, new science, or even a new opinion on old science, or throw the science out and look at the mythology or something to that effect, okay? Now, this is a good time to drop all the disclaimers. There is no truth to be found here, okay? This is just a conversation. This is just talking about possibilities. And as I described, looking at maybe some of the things that we have missed. Okay. So if you're here for the truth, you're in the wrong place. I'm not making any claims. I'm not doing any of that stuff. I'm just saying, well, isn't this peculiar? And not only that, isn't it peculiar in 2026 that, thousands of years ago, the Greeks were talking about this very thing? Now, straight to it. I'm going to quit rambling and just read this. It's probably best to read it straight. If you are into these ideas, I do recommend you check out the Substack. You can find that, of course, at troubledminds.org. Just click the Substack on top or just search for the Troubled Minds newsletter. Anyway, here we go. Check this out. This is straight from the thing, and this is the way this starts. An astronaut wakes up on her third week in orbit and cannot remember which way her body is supposed to point. Not confusion exactly, something quieter and stranger. The floor she reaches for with her foot isn't there and hasn't been there for weeks. And her nervous system, built across 9 months of gestation and every year since to expect a downward pull, keeps issuing a prediction the universe refuses to confirm. She is not falling. She is not standing. She is somewhere her body has no word for. Researchers now think that gap, the one between what the brain expects and what the body reports, might be doing more than making astronauts dizzy. A recent paper out of Birkbeck University of London argues that Earth's gravity functions as what its authors call a super prior, a foundational assumption so old and so constant that the mind builds its entire model of reality on top of it. Psychologist Anahita Nizami, one of the paper's authors, has spent over a decade interviewing astronauts about what she calls the overview effect, the sudden reordering of values and identity that some experience on seeing Earth from above. And we've talked about this in the past, of course, where the actual astronauts take off and have this sort of epiphany experience when they're in orbit and they're looking down on Earth itself, almost sort of outside of their body, kind of recognizing what's happening below them and how minuscule they are to the Earth and how minuscule the Earth is itself to the greater cosmos. Okay, that would certainly be one of those things. YouTube stream is not up. Wait, is YouTube not up? Let me check. What's up? What's going on? Should be up fine on Discord though. Okay. All right. Thank you, James. I'm not sure why that is not working. Let's find out. Oh, YouTube TV. Okay. Troubled Minds TV. Okay. That's a little weird. I wonder what broke on Restream. Anyway, so all right, we're going to have to just roll with, is Rumble working? Okay, it's Rumble. Yeah. Shout out Rumble if you're working over there. Okay. Anyway. All right. We'll have to just go without the YouTube and use the other YouTube. Okay. Anyway, I'll get you the link for that in just a second and drop it in the official chat here. Just search Troubled Minds TV on YouTube and it'll take you there. Okay. Anyway, so back to that idea, this sort of this epiphany experience that astronauts have, almost to the point where it's a sort of a religious space, and they come back changed. But the weird thing is that it's not necessarily a religious space. It's not necessarily ecstasy or something to this degree, or maybe it is, because it seems to be like something perturbing the consciousness aspect of being human. And this is right down my alley when we talk about these ideas. But so this is, again, these links are in the description down below, but the headline from the spacedaily.com is this. A new paper argues that Earth's gravity is a hidden anchor for consciousness, and that losing it in orbit loosens the mind in a way that echoes psychedelics. Now, don't do drugs, kids. I don't think you should either. And so just all the disclaimers apply. You got to make sure I'm not, I'm not selling this stuff, but you get my meaning here. Certainly, when you come outside of the orbit of the Earth itself, which seems to have baked us into our conscious space collectively and as actual specific individuals, that we are maybe a product of gravity itself, and our consciousness may be sort of locked into the space, or at least how we perceive that consciousness locked into the space in the gravitational shell. And look, there's a lot of ways to look at this. In some other ways, yeah, sorry about that. Let me see if I can fix this. 1 second. We'll take a quick break here in just a second and see if I can fix all the things. But that's highly disappointing that this is not working, because 1 second, please. Just 1 moment. Let me see what the hell's going on with Restream. It should be good. Let's see. That says sending data. That's weird. Did I get like a strike on the channel or something? Wouldn't that be wild? Yeah. Hey, yeah. You speak too much of not the truth, and you still get strikes. Anyway, yeah, 2 channels on YouTube. Yeah. So okay. Anyway, let's take a quick break. I'll see if I can get this fixed. If not, we're gonna just keep on trucking. Let me get the other Troubled Minds TV for you. There is a second channel. So let me get that, and I'll drop that in the chat, and then you can watch over there. If you prefer YouTube, one second. Actually, I'll be right back. More Troubled Minds in just a moment, and I'll get the link in the chat here. Let's get a word from our sponsor. In this case, that will be the Stoic Minute. Do not go anywhere. More Troubled Minds in just one moment. Be right back. Feeling stressed? Overwhelmed? In today's fast-paced world, it's easy to get swept away by our emotions. Take a breath and find your inner strength with the Stoic Minute.
You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength.
The ancient Stoic philosophers understood that we can't control everything in life, but we can control how we react.
The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts.
Focus on what you can influence. Cultivate a positive mindset and let go of what you can't change. Find your inner strength. Live each day with courage, wisdom, justice, and moderation. Embrace the Stoic virtues and find peace within. The Stoic Minute, brought to you by Jack in Oregon. And welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Let us continue, shall we? Okay, so what's up? GR Hutch says YouTube is working now. Cool. Yeah, it was sending, but not working. Anyway. All right, so now back to this. Now, the weird thing about this entire theme tonight is a couple things happening, right? Meaning that when astronauts go to space, they have sort of this epiphany moment. And not only that, it is sort of linked to the larger consciousness space, in my opinion, and of course, to some degree, the opinion of these individuals who did this study. Super cool stuff. I encourage you to read these articles in full because it is highly fascinating, and that's the point of this. And we'll get to some other stuff later, how this kind of cooks in with some other thing, and I'll drop this as a teaser, but this other article will come in a little bit later. But the universe might be teeming with strange forms of consciousness, and this is from Popular Mechanics. But put that in your back pocket. We'll get back to that a little bit later. Point of this is, now, if the gravity itself has some massive bearing on actual consciousness, then certainly this second part really comes into play in the sort of alien consciousness aspect, because we don't know what that is. We don't know what that looks like. Even the most wild speculation at this point is going to be, who knows? Who really knows, right? And so that's the weird part. But anyway, so back to this. Now, let me read a little bit more from the blurb here. Okay, so what's strange is how familiar the resulting description sounds. Astronauts report feeling unmoored, expanded, disconnected from the boundary of their own skin. Brain scans back this up in ways that are hard to wave off. Vestibular regions of the brain pull back from their usual communication networks. A measurable drop shows up in alpha brainwave activity. The same signature researchers have documented in people under the influence of psilocybin. The mechanisms could not be more different. One is a molecule locking onto a serotonin receptor. The other is the simple absence of a floor. And yet, the computational result, according to the paper, converges on something similar. High-level assumptions loosen. Old hierarchies in the brain stop enforcing themselves. Information that used to stay in its lane starts flowing everywhere at once. And so that becomes the weird part of this. Now, what do you think is going on? And let's throw the theory out there as part of the Troubled Minds space of, cast the net and see what comes back as far as ideas go. But what if sort of the idea of gravity as consciousness is really what we need to survive? And could we survive in a place like Mars? Could we survive in a place like deep space where without some sort of gravitational anchor or mirroring the gravitational aspect of Earth itself, do we become something different? Are we in danger of our consciousness simply floating away? And we'll get to Atlas in a little bit, because this is an important part of this, and Icarus and some other of these oldest myths. But Tonight, of course, we're taking your calls. That's the whole point of this. If you want to be part of the conversation, you know what to do. Give us a call at 702-857-6939. You can click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Very simple, right up there, blue button on top. Of course, Discord is a chat client. It's a voice client. It's completely free. Just pop on in and come say hi and come meet the fam, the crew, the amazing people that make this show go, because it's not just me. It's a lot of amazing folks over the years that have really, really helped with ideas and helped with inspiration and helped with all the rest of it. So thank you very much for that. What do you think about this? So, like I said, we'll get there, but we're talking not just the idea of consciousness and gravity and what that means to the human species, but what does that mean to like an elephant? What does that mean to like an alien, an EBE, an extraterrestrial biological entity, right? Suddenly you start to look at this and consider what consciousness actually is. And is our version of consciousness so dialed to earth that it's alien to everything else? And our consciousness, that idea of the light of consciousness kind of shining forth into the future, might be so strange and so weird in our own sort of dialect of consciousness in the cosmos that maybe, just maybe, we're too weird for the future. Yeah, the future's so bright, we've got to wear a spacesuit. Anyway, love to hear your thoughts on this. 702-857-6939. What do you know about the idea of consciousness, gravity, and what about this weird astronaut effect? Real quick on this. This is called, what's it called? Hold on. I got it. All the links are down below, so please do check this out. It is called the overview effect. Okay, this is what the astronauts get when they're up in space. And, you know, so the new science is not reflected in this Grokopedia article, but it is reflected in the other article here. So all the links are there. Please go check it out. 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Let's go to James in Michigan. What's up, James Salcedo? How you doing, brother? Welcome. Thanks for being patient. You are on Troubled Minds. How are you, sir? And go right ahead.
I'm okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Loud and clear. You sound fantastic.
Good. Yeah, this is fascinating to me. Two things, I mean, for two reasons. One, I mentioned in the Discord earlier before the show started, which is that I wonder if part of what, or maybe there's similar things, the feeling of weightlessness, if I can say the word, is anything similar to some of the dizziness or the feelings that one gets when they have vertigo. Because I had that, like a severe case of that for almost a week. And I had no idea what direction was what, any direction. I had no idea about directions as far as up or down or anything for a few days there when it was at its worst. And so I'm just curious if there's any similarities, or maybe if anyone else who listens here has had experience with that as well. And just curious about possible similarities between that and that zero gravity setting where you're disoriented and all that you it's almost like all that you have is your mind, but it's not, there's no physical anchor, so it's just doesn't know what to do. And that was very much how I felt when I had that vertigo for a little while there.
Yeah, I've never had vertigo myself, but I have heard what you're describing from a friend of mine. He's a dear friend for a very long time. I actually just got to see him. I was out of town, and he doesn't drink at all, barely, because he's so terrified of a vertigo situation that he had years ago, and so he's really. He doesn't want to re-experience this or trigger it in some way. It just happened randomly to him, and it affected him so deeply. He like sort of hedged his life around not sort of trying to bring that back. And it wasn't even induced by alcohol. It's just that when he drinks a little bit, it kind of gives him that reminder of the vertigo feeling that he had in that moment. It was a really bad moment, like you're describing. It was not a fun thing. And it basically becoming unmoored from yourself and sort of spinning almost as if, like you're describing very smartly here, that it is outside your own orbit, like you're kind of detaching from yourself and kind of spinning in circles and whatnot. It's wild to consider, but I think you're onto something here, that maybe, just maybe, this is something that our body recognizes, calibrates, and then tries to pin down so we don't have that vertigo effect constantly and continually, which these astronauts kind of do. I mean, not vertigo directly, but when there's no up and there's no down and there's no floor to step on directly, certainly the consciousness aspect of being human really kind of goes out the window. It turns into something let's say, a little more strange than we could ever guess, because we're not built for this. We're not prepared for this. And so, what comes next? What do you got on that? But I do want to ask you about the idea of consciousness and gravity itself. But if you got more on the vertigo, for sure, go ahead.
Well, and I mean, I've had minor cases of it where I'm basically okay, but I just have to go really slow, or just have to kind of wait it out and it goes away. But I had, like I said, a major case where, because in my case, I exposed my eyes to too much light, and even maybe even sound. It lasted for about a week, and it just kept getting worse every day. But I'm just thinking too, I believe in the article it said that these astronauts, when this weightlessness, when they woke up, they were disoriented. So imagine, I mean, I'm sure they're used to it when they're awake. They're very much adjusted to zero gravity overall. But if you're waking up, you're not totally there either. You're in that altered state. So I can imagine it'd be difficult. And if anything is out of the ordinary, even in that situation, then that could increase that strangeness. But yeah, the vertigo, it's odd because I normally don't think about my surroundings, physical surroundings, when I'm just sitting around in my chair, like I'm just doing things and all that. But the minute that those physical connections are gone, it's very unpleasant, disorienting. There's just so many, and just not fun, like I said earlier.
Yeah, another thing comes to mind too is like a sensory deprivation tank, or like blindfolds like you wear. It kind of removes not necessarily the gravity effect, but it does sort of remove an entire sense from the space. And then the sensory deprivation tank, of course, does quite a few more than that. But I imagine that is sort of like that out of body, that sort of astral experience that turns into something that's wild, that is described by Robert Monroe. We've talked about this quite a lot in the past, but maybe that this is something that, if we do go live on Mars and start a colony there, if we can't replicate Earth's gravity directly, maybe our consciousness kind of floats away, just like, the atmosphere of a planet, if it can't keep it,
Yeah. And I mean, when I had that major vertigo, looking at, like, having my eyes open at all made everything worse. Like, I had to, closing my eyes was the only way to, to make it a little bit better. And it was only by a little bit. So it's almost like a forced blindfold when you're going through that. And I'll definitely be happy to answer your questions after the break here as well.
I appreciate that. Thank you, James. You guys know him. You love him, of course. He is the glue of the show and the paranormal expert of Troubled Minds. That's James Salcido. Go check out his stuff, of course. Buy his books, follow his podcast, and all the places. Check out the website, salcidoparanormal.com. That will be SALSIDO, paranormal.com. Of course, you can find that at troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down alphabetically, click on James, and he's got a link tree there. Please go check that out and follow our friends. And that's what this has always been about. Now, the vertigo thing is very interesting here, because it does sort of look at the idea of consciousness needing to be pinned down somehow, right? Because if you're not moored, you're not stuck, there's no anchor, then suddenly you kind of get that spinning sensation that these astronauts kind of get, but then they also recognize they have sort of that weird epiphany moment as well, that idea of the overview effect. Now, I don't know what all this means, of course. I'm just theory crafting here, kind of looking into the future, peering around corners, trying to see what we don't know about the future. And of course, what we don't know about consciousness. But does this make any sense to you? Do you think that our version of consciousness is not universal? It is mostly, let's say, crafted, molded by our own gravitational pull itself. Or, I was thinking about this in other terms, and maybe it is, sort of passing through the firmament. Right. And many people would suggest that that's the case or whatnot. And Icarus comes to mind, flying too close to the sun. We'll get to that, of course. But the mooring aspect is going to be Atlas, which is what we'll be talking about tonight. Love to hear your thoughts. I'm calling this Atlas Never Left, a new case for the oldest myths. And maybe, hopefully, it's making some amount of sense. Love to hear your thoughts. If you want to be part of the conversation, you know what to do. Give us a call at 702-857-6939. You can click the Discord link at troubledminds.org, and we'll put you on the show. It's as easy as that. What do you know? Do you think it's possible that our consciousness itself is moored somehow, or molded, or pinned by Earth's gravitational field. And what happens when you look at consciousness outside of the gravity space? How weird does it get? One more time, 702-857-6939. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Don't go anywhere. More after the break. We got more from James and your calls as well. Nobody on the line. If you guys want to jump in here and give us your take, I'd love to hear what you think. Be right back. More Troubled Minds on the way. Do not go anywhere.
You're tuning into Troubled Minds, the show where mystery knows no bounds. Stay tuned for revelations that'll keep you questioning the fabric of reality. And that's the outro. Sorry about that. Sometimes you run out of time and you got to just go with what you got. I hope everybody's well. I see you in the chat. Thanks for being cool and chill and hanging out and understanding that I'm as imperfect as everybody else. What's up, James, the glue of the show? Thanks for being here, brother. We got JJ. What's up, Karen Roxdale in New York? Herschel Sterling. What's up, Kramos? Sacha, Apoc, Matt Sal, and Joey Don't Panic. Good evening over there. I saw who was on YouTube. Thanks for letting me know it was down. James was first, and GR Hutch, how you doing over there on YouTube? Jen as well. Appreciate that very much. Saying Jen says I see you on Troubled Minds TV. Yep, it is now. Should be working on all of the above. What's up, Ioxy is over there on YouTube as well. Good evening, guys. Nostradamus gets first over on Rumble. Hello, folks. Sorry for the time off. Like I said, I was out of town, and it's been a rough 9 months. And one day I'll tell the tale. It's just kind of too fresh for all the stuff, but it is what it is. You got to handle real life. What's up? Sweets is here, the other glue of the show. How you doing? Hope everybody's well. And people get used to me not being here, so they kind of don't show up. But that's okay. Give it a second, and we'll get some people in here. Hope you guys are well tonight. Love to hear your thoughts on this. And what do you know about gravity and consciousness? Here we go. Troubled Minds happening now. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting out of Las Vegas. And of course, 88.4 FM Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, your brain has been running on one unbroken assumption since before you were born: gravity. A new neuroscience paper says astronauts lose that assumption in orbit. And what happens next looks a lot like a psychedelic trip. The Greeks and Romans already had names for it. Icarus lost his calibration. Atlas never got to leave. A rare few get apotheosis, which we'll talk about as we go. Now, apotheosis is a 2-bit word, so I will tell you what it means in case you don't know. It just means sort of the ascension process. In the old days, they believed that emperors or pharaohs could actually ascend to become gods. From the mortal space to at least a demigod space. Okay, again, small g's, small d's, all the rest of that, but you get my meaning. I'm not trying to be blasphemous here, but that's what apotheosis means. It means an ascension from the mortal plane to actually embodying some immortal of sorts. Okay, that's what apotheosis means. So we'll get to that. But yes, 702-857-6939. Anything to add to what I just said there, James, or anything else come to mind? And I do have that question for you, by the way. What do you think about, so if you have anything to add, go for it. But then the question I'm going to stack on top of whatever you have to say is this. What do you think about the idea of gravity sort of entangled with consciousness itself? Welcome back. How you feeling?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I would think it would depend because, I mean, if gravity is different for each planet because of its makeup and all that, and if there are, again, whether you believe it or not, I'm just talking if there are aliens out there that live on these different worlds that have these different gravity levels, and who knows what other aspects of physics that we don't know or we don't have here, then you would think their consciousness will be different. I don't know. I have a hard time believing that there couldn't be consciousness without gravity entirely. I would think it would just life would have to evolve or change or develop in different circumstances, and maybe that would explain why it would develop in different ways into different beings from what we look like and what we are like here.
Yeah, I can't even imagine, like I'm a weirdo. You guys know, shout out weirdos out there, fellow weirdos, but I can't even imagine how deep the idea of what an alien consciousness might look like, or how bizarre that gets. And other than, sort of entangled time travel, the quantum stuff, I mean, who knows, maybe what we're sensing in the idea of dark matter and dark energy, that type of thing, dark matter specifically, is maybe not just a placeholder, but maybe it's sort of us detecting this larger universal consciousness somehow. I mean, it's invisible and we infer it by the gravitational pull it has, but we can't see it. We can't touch it. It's not part of the larger anything really, other than we observe it through how matter reacts around it. So I don't know. It's weird, man. This is all super weird. And I do think, like I said, when you talk about alien consciousness, we are coming to that space because we are non-human intelligence. We're coming to the AI, right? And so that debate's going to be raging hard and fierce over the next decade of, is AI conscious? And just because it can act like R2-D2 or C-3PO and seem to be autonomous and have its own ideas, it doesn't necessarily mean it's conscious. Now, I can see both ways of it, and I can probably make a decent argument for both cases, but I digress. Tons of things in play here, and anything else to add? And we got some calls to get to.
Well, just that, the fascinating thing to me about all the dark matter, dark energy is the way that there are shadow figures, shadow apparitions on Earth. And I just always wonder, I think we've talked about this before and done shows on it, is that shadow material, whatever we see, or people don't see or feel or sense somehow, is that related to that dark stuff out there? And I have no idea, but yeah, looking forward to the calls. You are the best. Shout out Karen. I missed you in the chat there during the break. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for listening. Love to hear your thoughts on this. What do you know about the overview effect? And let me read this real quick. So the overview effect refers to a cognitive shift in awareness experienced by certain astronauts and cosmonauts during spaceflight, particularly when observing Earth from orbital or lunar distances, resulting in a profound realization of the planet's borderless unity, vulnerability, and interconnectedness of life, which often diminishes nationalistic divisions and instills a sense of stewardship for humanity as a whole. Again, like I said, sort of an idea of
Everything that we've learned about ourselves growing up and becoming who we are now seems to dissolve that moment of epiphany when you're in this overview effect in space. Like I said, I've never been there. I've never been to space, only in my dreams. And in my dreams, it's not even that cold. So I can't really say it's real space, but it's dream space. I'll take it. Anyway, love to hear your thoughts on this. What do you know about the idea of consciousness entangled with gravity itself? Does it sound weird or nah? 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show. It's as easy as that. So let's go to Karen. Karen rocks on the Discord. What is going on? Welcome, Karen. How are you tonight? Just hit the hand and then unmute. And you're on Troubled Minds. Good evening. Good evening. Shout out Philip as well while we're waiting here. I see you there. Welcome back, buddy. Philip's been an old friend for literally years. It feels like decades. Welcome back, buddy. Karen rocks. You're on Troubled Minds. Are you there? Click the little hand and then just unmute. I'm going to keep talking. Just pop on in and then interrupt me. Okay, so the weird part about this now, think about not just the apotheosis aspect of this, but think about what it means to be Atlas. Now, Atlas, of course, holding the world on his shoulders, sort of the basis for keeping consciousness, at least conceptually, in place. Okay, the idea of human consciousness itself in place. But, okay, let me actually, I got this little blurb too. I'll read it if Karen isn't going to get in here. Karen rocks, you're up. Just do the thing. Okay, so Atlas was one of the Titans who fought Zeus for control of the cosmos. When the Titans lost, Zeus handed out punishments, and Atlas got the worst one. He was condemned to stand at the western edge of the world and hold up the sky itself, keeping it separated from the earth forever. Not a temporary sentence, not parole. He's the one figure in the old stories who never gets a transformation arc. He just bears the weight permanently, so nothing else has to. The one break in the story, Heracles briefly takes the sky off his hands during the quest for the golden apples, then tricks Atlas into taking it right back. Atlas today is still holding the sky up, and says this poor guy has never got a break, okay? And that's the point. So almost as if the gravity aspect of him being the wedge between the sky and the earth is the basis of our consciousness. You see, theoretically, not theoretically, hypothetically, in sort of this larger context of that conversation. I don't know what it means, other than it's a very, very tight parallel to this idea of the overview effect of these astronauts. So that's the point. And we'll get to Icarus in a second here because it also fits very well. Because when you talk about out-of-body experiences and Robert Monroe and, this type of stuff, and another thread that comes to mind. So Robert Monroe, of course, is Journeys Out of Body, the Monroe Institute. Anybody who's into woo knows who this guy is and knows the Institute. And the people that literally spend time out of their body, spend time sort of with hemisync. And we've talked a lot about this in the past, and go to different places and actually move out of their conscious body into some larger space invisibly. They're there. It's real. Ask them, try it. I've never tried it myself. It scares the hell out of me. But another thing that comes to mind as part of it is that silver cord. Now, we've talked about this in the past as well. It's a Dungeons and Dragons aspect, but it kind of comes into this space, the out-of-body space, where you have when you leave your body, there's sort of an ethereal essence to you. But the silver cord attaches back to your body, so you can find yourself and not get lost in the ether, in the astral. Okay? But, interestingly, maybe, just maybe, when these astronauts are out there and not really out of body, they're still in body, maybe it scrambles the signal of the conscious space. And so, I don't know, maybe it is cooked into us deeply and in an ancient manner, the out-of-body experience. And these astronauts may or may not be actually, I don't know, like maybe the signal is getting scrambled. I don't know. What do you know about it? Like I said, I'm just rambling on. Karen, whenever you pop in, you're welcome. I'm going to skip you and go to Kramos here. And let me know when you're ready. Type in the chat, and we'll get back to you momentarily. Let's go to Kramos in Chile. Thanks for being patient, friends. You are on Troubled Minds. How you doing, my man? You're on with Mike and James. What do you know about gravity? First, how are you, sir? Welcome, and go right ahead. What's on your mind?
How are you, sir? Hello, my friend. How are you? How are you, James? How is your family? Wishing you all the best always.
Thank you, sir. And you as well. Welcome to the joint. We're talking gravity and consciousness tonight. Thank you for the salutations and greetings and kind wishes to the family. I appreciate it, and back at you. What do you know about gravity and consciousness? Do you think there's some sort of entanglement aspect, or what do you got for us tonight? Go right ahead.
I like very much the image of the cover that you built with the admin with the world on top of him. You know, my father turned 84 years old this last 12th of July, and I went immediately I went to the AI and I asked for a deep research and about the number 84, the date of my father's birthday and the date of my birth, and I asked for an analysis, geometric, numerology, and astral, and the image called my attention because the geometry that came out was tetraedro. It's like a triangle made of spheres. And long story short, the analysis was my father is the base of that triangle, and I am the son who can maintain that structure, because every sphere that built this triangle is aligned with our zodiac signs, our planet transitions, and it was very emotional for me because it's before and after. And when I can relate and associate that with your topic, gravity is, in this case that I'm telling you about, this analysis is about structure, vertical structure, without breaking, without being destroyed or crumbling, just a solid, very strong structure. So it was very amazing. It was amazing how my father read all this, and he was very impressed how every geometry analysis numbers were in direct connection with our date of birth, and the final analysis was the relationship, father-son relationship. So for me, the gravity is now that I'm ascending, thanks to the base that my father built in the first place.
Yeah, I love that. And interesting that you went to AI to kind of put some of these pieces together, because I'm telling you what, guys, if you guys, if you used AI 6 months ago, any of these LLMs, the large language models, and you're like, or even a year ago, and you're like, I'm kind of not impressed or whatever. Like, it's a new world now. I do recommend, like, if you, however you sort of invoked it previously, I recommend you go back and check. Like, some of that vibe coding stuff that a year ago was just a pain in the ass. Like, you can just build stuff now. Like, you can just do things like that. It's been like that for several weeks now, but it's wild how quickly the pieces are able to be put together, especially for astrologically, like you're saying, with the symbology of what you're describing with your father, and then the 84, the numerology, and then the greater zodiac. There's an unbelievable amount of information that's accurate too. Like, go double check it and stuff. It's weird. And I'm not saying it's always right, but I'm saying that it is a fascinating thing that you described there. And the gravity aspect of, the basis of where we're coming from is certainly that ancestral space. So not just our fathers, but then deeper than that, our grandfathers, grandmothers, going back generations. But fire stuff, brother. Go ahead. What else you got?
Yeah. Well, to finish my idea, I read your article, and I remember many years ago, I did some LSD in a place that is in Santiago, in the capital of Chile, but in the mountains. It's called Embalse del Yeso. It's a very gigantic lake in the mountains, and we took with some friends LSD there, and after the effect kick in, I was feeling the mountains were like these giants, and they have faces, and we could identify women mountains, male mountains, children mountains. It was a very spectacular experience, safe, and I think I will never forget the Titans concept about humongous, enormous beings taking care of us or destroying everything if they want to.
Yeah,
that's my favorite.
Yeah, like holding up the sky aspect of it. Yeah, I mean, and I think that's, when we're talking about our ancients, our ancestral spirits and going back generations here, I think that's probably what we're invoking when you look at something like Atlas, right? You see the tallest mountain in the region. And there's one out here in southern Nevada called Kwame, I believe, is the native term, and it means spirit mountain. And because it's so this is southern Nevada, this is just south of Las Vegas, between here and Kingman, and it's beautiful. But it definitely, like, once you cross over the foothills and look at it, it is the largest sort of peak on the horizon, which kind of gives you the vibes. It gives you the Atlas vibes. It gives you the something is out there holding the sky off of the earth itself. So I certainly buy what you're saying there when it comes to that type of stuff. There's a reverence to it, seeing sort of that we are really just this little pale blue dot in the cosmos, but still there's something holding all of it back. And so Atlas is invoked heavily in that space. Fire stuff, brother. Appreciate you very much. What else you got? Go ahead.
Please send me the name in chat when you can, because I would love to see that place. And to finish, in the south of Chile, the Mapuche indigenous, they have this god that is not religious or celestial god. It's a mountain, and they got the connection between the mountain and the color blue. And that cosmovision of Mapuche indigenous is that the blue throw the first earthlings here in this south of the world, and the blue is the flag they have, and it has a white star in the middle. So they, of course, are very aware, and they respect and honor the big spirits ancestors. So I think we can rely on exercise of faith with some of the titans that you can feel or watch.
Yeah, it's sort of our intuition space. Like I feel that heavily, and that's what brings me back here. By the way, like clearly I'm not a scientist. I'm more a dreamer. I'm not even sort of a religious type, but I don't think that stuff matters specifically when you're talking ideas, when you're talking dreams, when you're talking the future and trying to see where we came from and where we're headed. Not to demean any of those things, but basically I'm saying that like this is who I am, and it does bring me back that reverence of we're here and it means something in a giant, massive, cold void of space, of the cosmos itself. But then beyond that, what does it mean being here? It's complicated, and it might mean nothing. And the materialist mind would say all of this means nothing. Like in a billion years, we'll be gobbled up by the sun. Nobody will ever remember humans, and we will be not even a distant memory to whoever comes next. So I don't know. It's that intuition space brings me back, because I think many things we talk about very much do matter. And that's why I'm here. What else you got, brother? Oh, I got a question for you regarding gravity, but if you got anything else, go ahead and I'll ask you the question after.
Ask me your question, friend.
Okay, so we're talking gravity tonight, and the idea that, let's say, when humans get outside of the gravitational pull of Earth, like these astronauts, and they have this overview effect as we're describing tonight, Do you think that it does affect our consciousness in a way that maybe it meanders, it leaves us, it can kind of slip, it could kind of turn us into, as James kind of cited earlier, like a vertigo effect of who we are? And do you think that it's even possible to take like a colony of people and put us on Mars or something like that, or put us in deep space in some kind of spacecraft without actually scrambling the signal from which we evolved from, which is this consciousness on this earth? So once again, just to clarify the question, do you think there is an entanglement effect with gravity and consciousness, and it will operate or act differently depending on where we are in that space? That's the question. What do you think?
I am totally agreed, and it reminds me when you have this effect of your organism when you are beginning to fall asleep, and then you wake up because you're feeling that you're going to fall, that you're falling. So it's like this biological phenomenon in your organism when you're just falling asleep and you feel this emptiness and you're falling. I think that's one of the signs that your parallel being is going out for a walk and you get scared. So I think we have many of those, and you need to let them go, relax, and not to be scared, because I think they go to find some things that you will find in material ways, and if you're thinking stupid stuff, there will be negative repercussions. But if you are calm and you can relax and wait for positive stuff, it's like an orbit. I have electricity in my brain when I have positive thoughts, so those make orbit and return positive. If you think stupid stuff, they will return negative. So I totally agree with that, and I think we have many parallels beings. So if they take everyone and put us in another place, I think it could be people noble, generous, and not evil ones.
Amen. Amen to all of that. And yeah, I think so. Let me point this out too real quick. So Karen over on Rumble says this. So where is it? Interesting that Tibetan monasteries are at high altitude and are places that nurture consciousness and spirit. And, sort of the archetype of the wise man on the mountain, almost as if they want to get as high above sea level as they possibly can to maybe experience this mix of the conscious, maybe effect of leaving yourself, of leaving the earth by just elevation, which of course would become where these astronauts are experiencing this overview effect. But I don't know. I take on that. We got a couple minutes left. If you got anything else to add, go ahead.
To finish, it reminds me of pranayama meditation technique when you can learn how to breathe with super slow motion. And that exercise is very stressful in the beginning, but when you are able to not hear your breathing, you can get very, very calm. And I think even you can see the things that your other beings can share with you, because you get to that state of awareness because you're not worried about breathing. You're receiving other types of energies. And I think everyone is going to be rewarded, because if you're doing good and not doing evil, you will be rewarded with any technique, and the highest place could be the lowest at the same time. So I think everything is great. Thank you very much, Michael, James. I wish you all the best always.
Appreciate the call, and I wish you and the best to you and your family as well. You know, we love them. That's La Radio de los Notables. That's of course Cremos in Chile, a great friend for a long time. And go check out his stuff. Thank you to Sweets for posting all his links in the chat. But you can find that, of course, if you're listening on the podcast feed, troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down just a little bit. Click on Cremos. It is alphabetical right there above my head if you're watching the stream. Please go follow him. Go check out the work he's doing. Very thoughtful guy. His manners are in the right place. Hey, I think Cremos should teach some congeniality classes. What do you guys think? Love to hear your thoughts. We're going to take a quick break here and be right back. More Troubled Minds coming up. But basically, look, I don't know the answers here, but I do wonder if gravity itself can influence consciousness. And this is one of those things, it's an old theory of mine as well, about the Giza Plateau and these gigantic monoliths that were built for what purpose? Yeah, that's a whole nother conversation for another time. I'll probably write a book about that, but love to hear your thoughts. We're talking consciousness entangled with gravity, the overview effect of astronauts, and new science that suggests maybe, just maybe, there's a link between it all. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Don't go anywhere. More after the break. Be right back. Nobody on the line if you want to jump in here. Love to hear your thoughts. Be right back.
This is Troubled Minds. Your host, Michael Strange, the master of the mysterious, is here to guide you through the shadows of the unexplained.
Let's check the news. A remarkable image has emerged from deep space this week, as China's space agency transmitted the first close-up photograph of a nearby asteroid, a peculiar object known as a quasi-moon. Captured on July 2nd from just 12 miles away, the image reveals an asymmetrical rock measuring roughly 50 to 65 feet across, traveling in a solar orbit that keeps it perpetually close to Earth. Scientists have long suspected this object may not be a typical asteroid at all. A 2024 study in the journal Nature Astronomy suggests the rock could be a fragment of our own moon, ejected by the ancient impact that formed a large crater on the lunar surface. The spacecraft will spend the better part of a year surveying the object before attempting to collect a surface sample and return it to Earth, a mission that could either confirm or complicate that extraordinary hypothesis. Closer to home, a different kind of surveillance story is drawing scrutiny. Meta's smart glasses, already controversial for their covert recording capabilities, are now being abandoned by some of the very early adopters who championed them. Users have described growing unease after a wave of documented incidents in which the glasses were used to film women without consent, with some footage weaponized for online content or even extortion. The backlash has grown severe enough that the wearables have earned a widely circulated unofficial nickname we'll leave to your imagination. Several owners told the tech outlet Engadget they now leave the glasses at home entirely, uncomfortable being seen in public wearing them. Meta, meanwhile, is pressing forward. CEO Mark Zuckerberg continues to insist smart glasses will one day replace the smartphone, and the company recently launched a high-profile campaign featuring Kylie Jenner. Whether that star power can rehabilitate the product's image remains, at this point, an open question. Thanks for listening to the Troubled Minds Radio Network.
Oh, well, Kylie Jenner likes him. I'm going to buy him. Like, who the hell is that? Oh, dear God. The funny, the AI didn't actually say the term. They're calling them pervert glasses. Zuck's new Ray-Bans that can record people without wink their consent. Yeah, exactly. Dragon Rose. Who the F cares about Kylie Jenner? I don't even know who that is. Honest to God. The AI is just name dropping. Like we're supposed to know who these people are. Anyway, what's up? Hope everybody's well tonight. Gordo has arrived. What's going on? Troubled Minds News Time. What's up, Sweets, Nostradamus, Karen? I see you there. Thanks for the great comments and all the chats and all the places. Appreciate you guys very much. Look, I don't know. The whole point of this is to kind of look at the world a little differently. That's the point. So, like I said, this is not some sort of scientific hypothesis and thesis and all the rest. It's just ideas. So everybody can relax. We're just talking amongst ourselves and kind of wondering what we're missing. That's the whole point. Just to reiterate, I know you guys know if you've been here for a minute, but that's the idea. I'm not here to be right. I'm here to be wrong. To sort of jog your inspiration in different ways and talk about pressing narratives, because certainly this is a narrative that can be pressed because again, the new science or a new scientific take on this is definitely real. So what does that mean? Not the appeal to authority, but you get what I mean. Certainly now a scientist talks about it now. Something that Troubled Minds has always talked about has been a really I don't know, like we're weirdos until a scientist says something similar, and then we're like, oh yeah, We've been talking about calm down, James. Calm down, James. Anyway, you guys are the best. Appreciate you very much. Thanks for hanging out and being cool and chill. And let's go. Troubled Minds coming up. We got, I think maybe Karen's on the line. We'll talk to Karen in a second here. And the rest of you as well. Appreciate you for hanging out. Thanks for being part of this. And what's up, Joey? Who'd I miss? I miss Karen over there on the chat. Dragon Rose, Sacha, good night. Ioxy. If I missed anybody, sorry about that. We'll circle back and say hi. Sweets, Gordo, Karen, I see you guys. Okay, here we go. Trouble Minds happening right about now. Let's find the right button. Button. Who's got the button? Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That is KUAP Digital Broadcasting out of Las Vegas, Nevada. Lovely Las Vegas of 100 degrees and some humidity today. It wasn't the best, but what can you do? Hey, it's a dry heat, right? And of course, we're also on 88.4 FM Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, we're talking, look, let me just read the blurb. This is probably the best, most cleanest way to do this. Your brain has been running on one unbroken assumption since before you were born: gravity. A new neuroscience paper says astronauts lose that assumption in orbit, and what happens next looks a lot like a psychedelic trip. The Greeks and Romans already had names for it. Icarus lost his calibration. Atlas never got to leave. A rare few got apotheosis. Now, the apotheosis bit here is, again, the ascension, okay? Not to invoke, again, blasphemy. Like I said, I hate using these terms because I know it turns people off, but hey, these are human words and these are human ideas. But the idea of rapture, or apotheosis, meaning from the mortal space to an immortal space, or a transcendent space. Okay, so like I said, we'll get to that. This is part of this discussion because the astronauts in this paper, in this overview effect, they do have these epiphanies. They do have these ideas that kind of come out of them that are not necessarily religious, because it's not a religious thing. It's a perspective thing. And it's almost as if once they get up there, it kind of scrambles that consciousness aspect, because there is no down anymore. Everything is sort of in flux and in play, and without artificial gravity on the space station or on a shuttle or whatever, these astronauts certainly start to feel like they are no longer of this earth temporarily. It's weird, right? And just a note on this too, that the overview effect doesn't happen to all astronauts. It's just some of them come back, and and there's been these stories, there's always like the religious people saying that, oh, it made this guy religious, or it confirmed his faith, or then the other side saying, oh, this religious person is now not religious. Go look them up. They're all out there. Everybody kind of pushing their narratives. And look, I don't care what people believe in that degree. I think it's all beautiful, as long as it's kind and benevolent as much as possible. And, we do our free will and don't hurt other people, right? It's all gorgeous. Do it, love it, believe it, do you. But in this particular case, the question arises, is there an entanglement effect between gravity and consciousness itself? And back to the original question, or one of the original questions when we started, is it possible to actually take a group of humans and put them on Mars and not change the gravity at all? Or would we have sort of the hemisync Monroe effect, and maybe our consciousness starts to slip and maybe pops out of our body and just fades away into the ether, very much like the Martian atmosphere? I don't know. Anything to add to any of that, James? Welcome back. Thanks for being patient. Great call from Kramos there. And how you feeling? Hope everything's well.
Yeah, I was just going to say, great call from Kramos. Your conversation brought up two things in my mind as far as with you and Kramos. First, real quick, is one thing I've found with all my out-of-body experiences, and this is one person that I've noticed that everyone seems to have different details or different feelings or whatever, different experiences with out-of-body experiences. But I noticed that every time I had one, eventually I got tired, or I ran out of energy or strength during the experience, to where I fell back to regular sleep. But I wonder if that's what I was feeling, was that pulling or that tugging of that silver cord. Maybe I was at like a limit of some kind, and that was the effect that it gave me to get me back to my body. I'm just thinking about that now. But also the mountains and the earth and the ancestors and all that. I mean, if you think about it, there are so many places around the planet where cities have been built on top of each other. Like if you go to archaeological digs, I've heard some places, especially from ancient times, when they go and dig in these places, they find like multiple floors, multiple city streets, system, like neighborhoods that get built over. And so you have this literal and figurative building on top of and placing individuals, even the remains in the end, in the ground beneath our feet, and doing that over and over and over again throughout time, which could, it's amazing to think of that as connecting the planet to the sky to out there.
And to Atlas, who is the anchor of it all. And I'm glad you brought that up too, by the way, because ancient Troy of the Iliad, they found it supposedly, and even that, as ancient as it is, still was built on the ruins of older civilizations, older cities. And so, kind of the idea of these mountains being the anchor, and that, the Atlas holding up the sky. It's figurative, of course. It's an allegory. It's mythology. But also, by the way, when we look at this stuff and we sense what's happening, I think there's, like I said, maybe we're rooted here, and maybe, just maybe, that consciousness aspect is not meant for other places. Like maybe that entanglement effect, if you remove the human from the space, from the pale blue dot, maybe, just maybe, we don't become ourselves at all anymore. I don't know. Super weird. And of course, we still have yet to determine that, because a lot of these astronauts haven't spent, 10 years in space. So it's been, 9 months, a year, maybe a year and a half type of thing, like max. But then they come back and, their DNA has changed. They've got some radiation sickness in some capacity. They've got, things have changed in their body. And I kind of wonder what changes in their mind, and not just their mind itself, but then the consciousness aspect. But yeah, fire stuff. Appreciate you, brother. Unless you got anything else, go ahead.
Just a quick sort of a thought there. Wouldn't it be ironic, one way or the other, if Star Trek and Star Wars and all of our space stuff is not even possible for us as we are? Because if we go anywhere and try to stay anywhere, we're going to just, change to something else completely. So, and again, going back to the idea of what is alien exactly? It's just unfamiliar, unknown. Would we become that unknown?
I think so. And that's the question tonight. How much of the consciousness aspect is entangled with gravity? And again, it's okay if you're like, come on, Mike, this is ridiculous. But also, by the way, hashtag science. That's from Space Daily. A new paper argues that Earth's gravity is a hidden anchor for consciousness, and that losing it in orbit loosens the mind in a way that echoes psychedelics. The plot thickens. What do you know? 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show. As easy as that. I believe, Karen, you're on Troubled Minds. How are you tonight?
Yes.
Welcome.
Yes. Hello?
I hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, I hear you. Okay. This is also fascinating. I think back to Shakespeare talking about slipping this mortal coil. And it seems that we have, throughout history, in ways, had a great striving or a great desire to challenge our bodies, physically through sports, or mentally through, various spiritual practices. And then I thought of the monasteries and how those people that cloister themselves away and pursue spirituality so exclusively and fervently are at high altitude, or Shangri-La, the storied Shangri-La tucked away in the mountains in the Himalayas. But also, I live fairly close to Yosemite, and people are just absolutely compelled to base jump, even though it's not allowed. Off and on, it's prohibited at times because people do die, but people are willing to do that. They're actually willing to die to take that chance to base jump, which is slipping that feeling of being in your body. And then so many people love to be pilots or even cliff jumpers, paragliders. all of the different things that we do to try to slip this feeling of gravity, but I think that it's also trying to escape the limitations of being in our bodies. And then those people with disabilities or who, say, have a stroke or something, they would understand even more the limitations of being in the body. So I think about that also. But I do think that there is something that our consciousness, we are spiritual beings having a physical experience. I do think that is the case, and that this ties in with that. But I don't think that consciousness is dependent upon gravity, although gravity will absolutely affect how we experience consciousness, because actually the circumstances that's what's going on in our bodies and our biochemistry, all of those things do affect our experience emotionally and mentally and spiritually.
Yeah, well said. And again, you know me, like I'm not directly making the case. I'm sort of indirectly asking that question because I don't know. And we haven't spent a ton of time in space scientifically to actually diagnose what that means. And so the Robert Monroe stuff, like a kind of slipping your body, the out of body experience, I wonder if, like, I'm pretty sure nobody's tried that in space. You know what I mean? Kind of like outside of the gravitational aspect. You see what I mean? And this is the type of stuff where, like, you know, weirdos like us, and I mean that, of course, affectionately, is that imagine 5,000 years from now, people are going to be in, cross your fingers, we do everything right. There's going to be a bunch of people in space, and there will be time to do those sorts of things. So I do wonder, right? Like if the hemisync aspect of Robert Monroe is one thing, but imagine if you could kind of just accidentally, just slip out of your body because you're sort of outside of the orbit of the Earth, or, out of the gravity signature of the Earth, Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
I mean, that's entirely possible. Of course, I wouldn't know either. That is interesting. And then I wonder, maybe James would know this. Do people who have NDEs, I've read hundreds, and that's not even an exaggeration, 200 or 300 probably NDE accounts, or listen to the people tell their story on podcasts, and including, several books. And I don't recall people talking about the silver cord, although I am familiar with the silver cord. Do people having NDEs have the silver cord? And so people having NDEs, their bodies are still under the effects of gravity, but their consciousness seems to go elsewhere. So I'm curious if that NDE is dependent upon the gravity in any way, of being in the body,
I'm sorry.
You're good, James. Go
ahead. That's fascinating, because I feel like I have heard maybe rare cases of people having an NDE seeing some kind of a cord. I also wonder if that cord could also be the light that people see in some cases, just in general. But also the out-of-body experience is two things on that real quick. For one, I've never tried to have any of them, and I've had several of them. I still have them here and there, and I've never seen any kind of a cord. And yet there still are reports of that, so I don't know why it happens for some people and not other people. Again, it just seems like everything, there are patterns within things, but there's also they're not universal for everyone as far as what we see or experience in their own cases.
Yeah. Like I said, I've listened to so many NDE accounts, and nobody talks about this silver cord. But then I guess that I don't know who's telling us that the silver cord exists. Is it some kind of spiritual tradition, or I don't know. I've also read a lot of books like Michael Newton and others that talk about the lives of the soul, or lives between lives, and that we have these rich spiritual lives in between our lives, and plan our lives and who we're coming with. And we have these spiritual families and teachers, and spend a lot of time working on lessons and reviewing and preparing which lessons we're going to learn and that type of thing. So if any of that is accurate. If it's not just a bunch of fiction, then consciousness is not dependent upon gravity, in my opinion. So I don't know. It's a very interesting topic. I do think our consciousness is influenced by gravity, though, and by the limitations of the body and even altitude. And that may have something to do with the gas mixture, the ability of the red blood cells to bond with oxygen. You know, that people who are training for athletics, when they go up into the higher altitudes, they have trouble oxygenating, you know, because of the thickness of the atmosphere. So that may also have an impact on our consciousness or the way we experience consciousness.
Yeah, sort of that Wim Hof effect, where he, you know, sort of actually changes his like his actual not total physiology, but he's able to sort of change his previous state from where he was and where he's going to, again, you know, be in freezing temperatures and survive and things like this through just breathing.
Right.
I mean, all that stuff is absolutely wild. And so it does make some sense what you brought up previously in the chat. And when you called here too, is that I do wonder if there is some sort of, not just, you know, dare I suggest magic, you know, how dare Mike bring up the term magic, but sort of magical space in the, you know, the high up in the Himalayas, the old, the archetype of the old man up in the cliffs that has the secrets. Maybe he's up there communing with something because he's closer to it. I don't know. Huh?
Well, and then there was, I mentioned in the chat also the Tower of Babel, building up, reaching up into the heavens, and God putting into that because it was evil or it was technology striving to acquire the abilities of God or to supersede the spiritual abilities. I'm not really sure what the purpose of the Tower of Babel, but I know that it seems to have existed, and it was reaching toward the heavens, and it was there was an input to that. Another thing that an experience I had as a young person is I went to Berlin for 2 months when I was in my mid-20s, and just being in Berlin by myself, not speaking German, I underwent culture shock. And that was a complete stripping away of all of the conventions of being American and understanding the language and being in a society where I knew people and I could have conversations, and being thrown into this situation. Gravity was still the same, but so many things were different. My whole social construct and comfort zone was completely gone. Stores were different. Conventions were different. Furniture was different. I didn't know where things were in the town. I had to, you know, it was just a completely different cultural experience. And it was almost like losing my mind in a way, or having some kind of psychedelic experience. It was just absolutely mind-blowing. Completely unmooring. It was like being adrift in a sea of humanity and just not even recognizing my surroundings or the story I had told myself about who I was. And so it is true that we do have, from the time of birth and even before birth, all of these social norms and conventions, and the socialization that we go through does affect the way that we look at things and our perception. So small changes like visiting a foreign country where I don't speak the language or really know anybody can completely change my perception and my consciousness and what I thought I knew about who I was and where I fit in with the world. So it also makes sense that a change in something like gravity and the way that would affect my body would also have that kind of effect.
Yeah, I mean, we were evolved to this gravitational signature, so. And, you know, they say that, you know, procreation in space is going to be extremely difficult for exactly that reason, because all of that stuff was built for this gravitational signature. And so even let's say just take a colony and put them on Mars and don't change the gravity at all. You got problems. there are physiological problems.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Which is, all of it's incredibly wild, and how it affects not just our cognition, but then that larger consciousness. Fire stuff. I appreciate you very much. What else you got regarding this? So you're kind of split, like maybe, but also maybe not. And you're kind of in the same space I am with this, which is why I think these discussions are good. Go ahead.
I don't think that that gravity has anything to do with the genesis of consciousness, with the I don't think it's seminal to consciousness, but I'm sure that it affects our perception of consciousness or our own personal view of the world or the way we experience things. So yes, it would have an impact for sure, but I don't think that it's seminal or a precursor to consciousness.
Fair enough.
That's my intuition, my feeling with all of the time I've spent pondering these things.
And
it's great talking to you. Great show.
You as well. Thank you for the call. And my intuition echoes yours because I think we're on the same page there. I don't know if it's fundamental, but I certainly do believe that there's some co-mingling aspect of it that could cause some who knows, some consciousness shenanigans. You're the best. Appreciate you very much.
Well, I think also, I think we need to not forget, the Earth's consciousness or the Earth. Because people are attached to the land that their ancestors lived on, and if there's a spiritual realm, which I absolutely believe that there is, then the trees and the animals also have consciousness, and our consciousness would be interwoven with theirs. So, and then there's also the Schumann resonance and the salt water, which of course is through our veins also. So in ways other than just consciousness, we are tied to the earth. So I think that we need to also take that into account.
Amen. I agree 100%. Thank you very much. TheKnightsOfTheStorm.com, Karen Carpenter, Ashley, Think, Change, Repeat, and of course, the real Jason Barker. Please go follow them, TheKnightsOfTheStorm.com. Thank you to Sweets for linking that in all the places. Thank you, Karen, for listening, being enthusiastic about the ideas, and sharing your wisdom with us. I appreciate you very much.
My pleasure.
Have a great night. Thanks for the call.
Okay.
Simple as that. Phone line works. If you want to be part of the conversation, 702-857-6939. Thank you to Karen. Again, TheKnightsOfTheStorm.com. Thank you to Sweets for linking that in all the chats and all the places. Gordo and all the rest of the mods in the places, pinning it and doing all the things. I appreciate that. It makes it very easy on me, so I don't have to do all the things and go find all the things. But yeah, fantastic call. And this is one of the things that she said in the chat previously when we first kind of started the conversation, that idea of the old man in the mountains, right? Climbing to as high as you can possibly get for some level of consciousness ascension, or, I'm calling it that for the narrative tonight. But what does it mean? And the climb to the top is surely some level of a challenge to not just our physicality, but our physiology, but also a challenge to our mind space and that consciousness aspect. I don't know what it means. Anything to add to what she said, James? Thanks for being patient. Appreciate you very much. What you got?
Yeah, no problem. Great call. I'm just thinking about mountains and stone and energy and the way, we have lightning rods or lightning, I don't know what you call them. I guess lightning rod is the right word. But basically these things that draw lightning to our energy to it. And if there are different kinds of energies out there, then it makes sense that going on top of a mountain where there's this tension between the energy that's in the mountain and everything else up and around above it, it would be there and you'd be able to feel that. Also, I think one thing to keep in mind here is, okay, let's say for a second that aliens have visited here based on all the reports from people throughout time. Well, then how are they here? If gravity is different for every planet species, then how are they here? Does that mean they're not physical, or they're partially physical, or how does all that work?
Yeah, well said, all that. And if I was the Cosmic Mike, I would have answers. I'm not. I'm Mortal Mike, so I just have more questions.
Dang it, Mike.
Yeah, exactly, right? Let me read this too real quick. So regarding the silver cord, I didn't know this, is an idea primarily that originates from a biblical reference. That I did not know. I learned about it in Dungeons and Dragons. It's a book of, you're going to laugh at me. I've read this. I haven't actually said it out loud. I didn't spend a lot of time in church. Ecclesiastes? Pardon me. Whatever it's, so it's 12, 6, and 7 in the Hebrew Old Testament. So the verse in poetic description I'll read this. We'll go to break. Jen was first, and then we'll go to Eric after the break, just so you guys know. So here's the quote. So before the silver cord is snapped or loosed, depending on the translation, and the golden bowl is broken, or the pitcher is broken at the fountain, or the wheel broken at the cistern, then shall the dust return to the earth as it was, and the spirit shall return unto God who gave it. There you go. I didn't know that. Hey, Grok coming in strong here. And that's the point, right? Learning things as we go, recognizing, look, I've heard of the silver cord. We've talked about this in the past, but I learned it from Gary Gygax from Dungeons and Dragons back in the 80s. Anyway, love to hear your thoughts. We're talking gravity. We're talking consciousness. We're talking this overview effect. And of course, we're going to get to Icarus. And you know the story. What happens when you fly too close to the sun? Love to hear your thoughts on this. 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Be right back. More on the way. Do not go anywhere. We got Jen coming up in Missouri, Eric in Ohio, and your calls as well. Don't go anywhere. Be right back. More on the way.
You're tuning into Troubled Minds, the show where mystery knows no bounds. Stay tuned for revelations that'll keep you questioning the fabric of reality.
Let's check the news. A scar on a tree trunk and a pile of stones at its base may sound unremarkable, but in the savanna woodlands of a national park in the West African country of Guinea-Bissau, researchers say these scenes are evidence of one of the most mysterious behaviors ever recorded in wild primates. Chimpanzees in West Africa have been observed repeatedly hurling rocks at specific trees, returning to the same sites again and again while vocalizing loudly and striking the trunks with their hands and feet. The behavior, known as accumulative stone throwing, has so far been documented in only 4 chimpanzee groups. What makes this particularly striking to researchers is that the presence of suitable rocks and trees does not predict where these sites appear, suggesting the behavior is cultural, not simply opportunistic. Scientists believe the displays may serve a communicative or even symbolic function, potentially marking significant locations within a chimpanzee's territory. A team has recently returned from fieldwork in that region, gathering new data on the social and ecological context surrounding these sites. Because chimpanzees are our closest living relatives, the implications stretch well beyond animal behavior. Researchers hope that understanding why certain trees are selected, and what role these stone-throwing rituals play in chimpanzee social life, could shed light on the deep evolutionary origins of human communication and tool use. It remains one of the few known examples of stone tool use in a purely social, rather than food-related, context among non-human primates. The mystery at the heart of this research is deceptively simple. We still do not know what these sites mean to the chimpanzees themselves. Thanks for listening to the Troubled Minds Radio Network.
Indeed. I thought that was highly fascinating, which was heavily featured here in the news. Yeah, right? Like the chimps show up to throw the rocks at a particular tree. The old primordial nature spirit, the one they don't like. I don't know. You guys are the best. Thanks for hanging out. What's up, Eric? We got Jen coming up, then Eric. What's up, Dragon Rose, Lunging Mule, APOC, Herschel Sterling. What's up, the Daryl in New York, Misfit. We got Karen Rocks. You're welcome to come back in if you want to call. Joey, don't panic. Thanks for all the great comments. Karen, great call. Who'd I miss? If I missed anybody, just let me know. Sorry about that, and I will try and circle back around and get you. Sweets, Gordo, we got who else over on Rumble? Karen, thank you for the call. Great stuff. Nostradamus with great comments as well. Look, I don't know. You know me. Look, I come here wrong. That's the point. And it's so liberating to just be like, you know what? I'm not right about this, but let's talk about it anyway. And you see kind of how you meander into some truths sometimes. And I think that's the point. It's not just narratives, but it's human intuition. Let's talk. Here we go. Troubled Minds coming up right about meow. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. Yada, yada, blah, blah, blah. All the places, all the things. You already know. James got excommunicated from the church because of his laptop forced update. Look, tonight we're talking about consciousness, but not just your grandpappy's consciousness, and I mean that in the nicest way. We're talking about consciousness commingled with gravity. Do you think there's a connection? Because we're talking about this weird idea of the overview effect of astronauts when they go to space. Many of them have epiphanies. They have weird, pseudo-religious experiences or directly religious experiences. Now, what does it mean? Now, for me, again, so the whole point of this was to bring the paper up, right? A new paper argues that Earth's gravity is a hidden anchor for consciousness. I was like, damn, that's a very troubled mind's idea. I love that. And it continues, and that losing it in orbit loosens the mind in a way that echoes psychedelics. Now, that's highly fascinating. And look, not all psychedelics are bad, right? Like we've talked about this in the past, meaning specifically if you do microdoses under clinical settings, for PTSD, things like this, they dropped a letter anyway, whatever, PTSD, that it helps heal people. It helps rewire the mind. And so in the same space, if you go to space outside of the gravitational signature of Earth itself, we have a rewiring of the mind somehow. Well, we don't know yet because, astronauts don't stay up there too long because it's bad for their health long term, et cetera, so on. But anyway, the question for tonight is this. Do you think there's actually a connection between consciousness and gravity? And is the gravity well that we are living in, locked into a particular consciousness space? What about aliens? What about NHI? Non-human intelligence. Basically, how weird does it get? That's what's on my mind tonight. Love to hear your thoughts. 702-857-6939. James, anything to add? We'll go to Jen.
Just hopefully you can hear me all right.
Yes, sir. Worst update confirmed. You're back.
Oh, it just completely, yeah. Then no warning, just boom, gone. And then, yeah, so no, but looking forward to Jen's call and Eric's call and the rest of the show.
You're the best. 702-857-6939. Let's talk gravity. Let's talk wild ideas. And let's talk that silver cord. Ecclesiastes. I'm terrible. I'm a terrible churchgoer. Jen in Missouri. How do you say it?
Ecclesiastes, I think.
Yes, that.
I'm not sure. Actually.
Hey, you're way ahead of me. I think I had testes in there, which is a very bad thing to add to that. But anyway, welcome to Troubled Minds.
Well,
thank you for being patient. And what's on your mind tonight?
Thank you.
There's a lot here. What do you got for us?
Well, listening to what you're saying, I think, and I heard a lot of really good points that made a lot of sense to me. The callers, I think too, that. So if we think about the different, gravity will be affected if you go up high altitudes. The gravity is slightly different the higher you go. You'll have a physical reaction to it. And the same would happen if you went to the bottom of the ocean. You would feel a sort of pressure and everything. But if you were to think about it as in there were an extensive amount of layers beneath the earth and there was the cosmos above, they were not quite like we thought, or they are exactly like they are told to be, regardless of how it was all affected. If it was all one singular thing, say gravity, that was affecting how all matter was pulled into shape. And then just considering the idea that at different positions, say you were to go so many miles down, maybe 100 miles down or something, if that was possible. Like if you were able to get down that far into the Earth's crust, what would the gravity be like? There are so many different mythos about things like Agartha and the idea of being in different positions on the plane, that it changes the way that matter is manifested. So you have this, at certain points in the sort of, think of it like a diagram, you come to certain points with the level and pressure of the gravity or whatever kind of fluctuations I'm imagining that this could be so. It actually affects how matter holds together, how it, how it can span spaces of time very easily, or can move fluidically, like with, I don't know, be able to move across vast spaces of land depending on the weight. For example, the way that a fly can traverse a great deal of space. If you were to put it in human terms, it makes a big difference, and how you would see that. And the same thing with flocks of birds migrating vast spaces of time and the way that they would perceive it, just due to their own density, I guess. Maybe you could say that. But so if you were thinking about going, kind of like what Karen has said too, really stood out about if you go up to the very highest altitudes. And it made me think of deprivation tanks in zero gravity as well. How you can use a deprivation tank, this feeling of the muscles all relaxing and sort of entering into another state. People report that in deprivation tanks, they sometimes have very vivid visions, and they actually hear communications, they hear voices, and they see colors, and they see things that are not there. So they sort of go into an altered state of mind, induced by the zero gravity deprivation tank kind of feeling. It might be similar to what some astronauts might feel up at a certain gravitational level, or whatever the medium is, if that's the case. Not to mention strenuous exercises they have to undergo to prepare to go into that environment. So I think that's really interesting about how you could be, it's a very severe, I think that's what she meant too. It's a very severe sort of strain that pushes the mind and the body to another sort of, and it forces it into another perspective of reality and what's possible and what is not possible. And then the interpretation of your existence could shift. Even the idea of going into, the further reaches of the atmosphere changes the whole perspective. And those people who are thrill seekers that, would do such a thing, being able to compartmentalize what they're doing. But then I think that the concept of, that's as far as with gravity, I consider that gravity would be the same exact medium, but acts different in different positions according to the magnetic field of the Earth. So you could say that. But the going to Mars or going to other planets, you think back to the old world and the worship of the old world, and they would talk about Mars, they worshipped Mars and they worshipped Venus and Mercury and so on and so forth, Uranus and on and on. And they could literally sense the vibration of those planets, or they felt the influence, of those planets. It's really fascinating to imagine that it may be something that within the human body as a sort of a microcosm of some sort, that it is able to emulate what we see on the outside and go within and sort of change its own density to be able to experience what that realm feels like without ever actually leaving the blue marble, as they put it. So it's sort of going there. Why do they spend so much time on things like remote viewing and so on and so forth, studying it before the space program, and a fixation on that ability, as well as other abilities as far as pushing the limits of, humanity mentally and physically to achieve great goals? If they did use some of these extreme cases that we're talking, like extreme physical boundaries that you would see with an astronaut or the training to become one and everything, they could even be unknowing, pardon me, they could be unknowing that they are going to another world. They could think that it's so real that they actually went there, but they only went there as sort of by such a silver cord method, sort of reversing wormholes and dimensions and going to those places and being able to come back to tell it. And it could make a lot of sense.
Yeah, well said. Well said. All that, and I think regarding the silver cord, and it is the connection back. And so, which actually leads us into the second part of this, the sort of the end game of this. Let me read this little blurb here regarding not just the silver cord, but where is it? Hold on one moment, please. But the idea of not just Atlas sort of burying the weight of the sky, keeping it off of Earth, but beyond that, think in terms of consciousness. Now, Icarus, the son of Daedalus, again, made the wings from wax, if you know the old story, flew too close to the sun. Now, when he got too high, the sun, of course, melted the wax off of his wings. He fell to his death tragically. Now, it's an interesting concept when you think about it mythologically. Not just, so it's been talked about politically and some other ways, you know, in the terms of the seat of power. If you get too close to the seat of power, it's going, you know, the sun was going to burn you. And that's one thing in the modern space. But then interestingly, when you talk about it in the consciousness space and this astronaut overview effect, we have a weird thing happening where maybe, just maybe, if you spend time above the mountains, right, like into the orbit itself, that maybe our consciousness is flying too close to sort of the cosmic sun, the space, not just the sun itself, but you get my meaning. And so that kind of leads us to really the point of this tonight is like there's two things working in parallel. They're opposites, but also when you talk about consciousness and astronauts and how this affects all of it, it's super weird. Am I right?
Yeah, it really is. You couldn't, I mean, there have always been these stories about there being guardians at the gate. The idea that going to other realms is not easy to do, that there are certain rules about it and how you get there and what you encounter. People talk about what they encounter when they go to what they perceive to be other realms, in hypnotic states, in different states of regression, or just, you know, just deep dream state hypnosis when they talk about it. That when they go and channelers, mediums, things like that, but when they go into the spaces where they encounter such beings, they sometimes report running into some sort of guardians of the gate. In Christianity, it is really commonly spoken about that the sort of lions guarding certain realms, sort of certain types of figures, entities that are designed just for that. At the opening to the Garden of Eden, going, you know, this way and that way, the flaming sword. You have that in Buddhism, you have it in Hinduism, but basically that's all the different realms. And you hear about it a lot too, like even the story of the Styx, the river Styx, and the passage through the different layers, that you will encounter certain beings there. And that's a lot of what the preparation is for. So like when they go through these, before they go into certain rituals, when people in a lot of the older cultures would go into these other realms, they had to prepare to encounter those beings. And they even have the Tibetan Book of the Dead where they talk about, you know, how you might prepare to enter and what you should say and what you should do and how you should handle that other realm. And I know that, you know, a person is not dead when they have a vision of going to, say, another realm such as Venus or Mars or Mercury, as they always have throughout history. And that's how we know about these places and locations and what to expect from them, that they have a certain influence upon humanity. But when they were going to those places, they were a sort of, not priesthood, but they were much like, you know, they're students of it. And so they would prepare themselves to go to those locations. And it was a mental preparation, prepare their minds for what they were going to encounter when they got there, because they'd be leaving a part of themselves behind when they did. And if they were weighed down by certain types of preconceived notions, they wouldn't be able to access those realms as well. So many people are maybe we are being controlled in some degree to be kept from even being prepared to even accept the concept, you know, even though it's been a readily available idea for a long time, though a cautious one, and carries its own weight of, what would you call it? Like
It's forbidden. It's verboten. It's one of those things like it's the questions that we need to be asking are not allowed to be asked, right?
Yeah, I would say that's the case. But I think that coming back, sometimes people don't. There are accounts in Buddhism where people there were certain types of tribulations they would go through, and they're still alive. People have said that some of them still there's like a life there, but they're almost like statues, and they can stay that way for months. Some of the stories say. Anyway, but I do think that maybe the mind is being controlled of humanity to stay in a specific location, and not even to imagine the idea that they could go anywhere else and have any kind of effect in any way anywhere else, or that the effect from the outside is not causing changes in our reality. And then as far as the way that gravity would operate in that kind of environment, obviously, if the gravity is, sort of pervasive, that you change the location and the density of the energy and the magnetic fields at different layers of the earth and the atmosphere, it would affect the way that the microcosm of the human biology, the biome of the human body. And maybe the astronauts are doing a lot of preparation for when they do such things. And zero gravity has a lot to do with deprivation tanks, I think. There's similar effect psychologically. They encounter, it may open up the gates of their mind. And they may be prepared to encounter what they see there. You've heard about The Exorcist and the boy from The Exorcist, that he later on developed a metal that could make it through certain atmospheres of space. And he worked for NASA later on. That's very interesting, I think, in correlation to what we're talking about. He may have encountered things before he was even working with NASA. But a great topic, and I'm going to let Eric talk because I've been talking and talking.
talking. We appreciate it very much. Thanks for listening. Thanks for thanks for slaying it on your YouTube channel, by the way. Raz, I'm going to read this to you from Rumble. So Raz says that Raz23 says Jen's been uploading some good vids on YouTube. Again, been enjoying listening. So keep up the good work over there, slaying it, and please go follow Jen.
Thank you so much.
No, thank you for the call. You were the best. Please go follow Jen in all the places you know what to do. troubledminds.org/friends. Very simple. Let's scroll down a little bit. It says Jennifer, her proper name right there, alphabetical. Click it. Go check out her YouTube channel. She's putting out videos again. Great stuff. Again, she was part of that Trickster Summer bit when it comes to the idea of plasma and plasmoids and sort of a sentient plasma. Like, so there's a lot of things coming into clarity, I think, not just, let's say, in the esoteric space of the conversation, but recognize what's happening with, James Franco and Dr. Phil and like some of these people that you never considered talking about UFOs are now all talking about UFOs. Like it's like, so why? Like I wonder if the interest is there and they want to capitalize on the interest, or if somebody's kind of invoked them and been like, hey, how about you read these talking points to your audience and get the word out, very much like they did with Tom DeLonge and To the Stars Academy. So, look, I don't trust anything anymore. I don't trust anybody. If a celebrity comes out and says, oh, I was abducted by aliens, I don't trust them. If you say it, I trust you, okay? Because, right, you see what I mean? There is for another time. 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. James, what do you got? And we'll go to Eric and wrap this up.
Great call from Jen, and you can also hear on my show. My show. I've been trying to say our show because she's on there so much. Salcedo Paranormal. So definitely check that out as well. Those episodes are always amazing.
Absolutely. Jen's on the SalcedoParanormal.com on the weekends, Saturdays typically. So please go check that out. Go hang out, go chill in the Discord. And by the way, too, if you have like an experience that you want to share, that's a great place to do it. Kind of very cool, chill vibes, great people that have seen some things themselves and, kind of want to hear this. It's important to talk about these ideas together. So please reach out to James and get on that show. Or, of course, you can share it here. I'm not trying to cast you off to the denizens of Jamesville. James is here with us right now, and you can talk. Yeah, right. See, I'm just saying. I'm just backtracking and saying that's not what I'm trying to do. Share it with us here, but it's a great space. If you've never shared an experience before, and you're like, I kind of don't like. I don't want all the grief that comes with it, right? It's a very, very, very great audience there. And James, of course, is seen and heard it all, which is why it's important in that paranormal space to talk about these ideas. Anything to add, James, if you want to take a shot at me, you're welcome to.
No, and just for anyone who doesn't know, I was kidding. But also, yeah, and I'm going to be in a show soon, one of these weekend shows. I'm going to be sharing the experience I kind of just teased at on here one time recently that I think I should cover in more detail on Sausalito Paranormal, because it's important for a lot of reasons. So I look forward to that as well.
Amen. Me too. You let me know when it happens. I want to listen. 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Eric in Ohio. What's up, brother? You're on Troubled Minds with Mike and James. How you doing tonight? Thanks for being patient. And what's on your mind tonight? We're talking gravity and consciousness. You think that's too weird?
No, man. I think we've talked about that. and hey, Ecclesiastes.
Thank you.
Ecclesiastes.
Thank you. So, so there's no testes in there? Because I'm going to hell now. No. I'm totally going to hell.
It's an English translation of a Latin word that's a translation from a Greek word, which is a translation from a Hebrew word. And it essentially means assembly, or in some cases, what you would speak to an assembly. So it's like a book of stuff that you would say to a group of people, essentially. No. And you could say ecclesiastic, which would be anybody who's going around in that day and age preaching the gospel and that sort of thing.
Okay, that makes a ton of sense, and thank you. Maybe you saved me from hell itself, the lake of fire. I repent. I really didn't know. And you know what's funny, right? Like, I knew that, I heard that, but I was very young in a very weird church, and it creeped me out a lot. And so I think my mind kicked it out about actually.
All churches should, no matter what denominations creep you out at some point.
Okay, I digress. Go ahead. What do you got regarding gravity and consciousness? I'm sure there's some angle in here that kind of caught your interest, including the silver cord. Take it wherever you like.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I came with some diagrams this time, basically. But, yeah, gravity. I mean, we're talking about orchestrated reduction, again, from Roger Penrose and Stuart Hammerhoff. And, Roger Penrose is kind of on trial right now for saying that he believes that you're never going to get consciousness from artificial intelligence. He doesn't believe that intelligence is a computational situation. You can't just add a whole bunch of data to anything and then have it birth consciousness. It can do a lot, and it can aggregate really well. But he says that it'll never be conscious, because consciousness is not an emergent property from calculations. Just because you do a lot of calculations doesn't mean you're going to be consciousness, according to him. And what he is saying is that, we've talked about microtubulin before in the brain, which is the cytoskeletal structure of cells inside of neurons. And inside those microtubulins are hydrophobic pockets, which cause the atoms that the tubulin is made out of to push together to the point where their electron orbits entangle with each other. So he's saying that the brain is basically a big device that entangles your thoughts with the universe itself on the Planck level. And then in the first diagram that I threw up there, you can see how when something is entangled, it's in superposition. And that doesn't mean just that it's in two different places at once. It means it's also in two different time frames at once. So it's in two different places and two different times. And the calculations show that it splits a little bubble, which you can see on the right there, in space-time, basically causing the superposition. And the microgravity, or space-time on a small scale, at some point, as this builds up, you can see in the third picture that looks like a bunch of ones together, where there's four of them together. Those are different states that the London forces take in each microtubular, which is like a protein that's folded. And those are the quantum computing possibilities, and the one after that shows what happens after reduction, and then the next to last one, and the paper's below if you want to like look at the paper and read it, but the last one shows the state at which the entanglement must reach before it gets to a critical threshold that causes it to collapse. Like essentially it's like Jenga, right? The more of these things that become entangled, which is a thought blooming in your mind, right? That's as thought grows, it gets to a point where, yeah, that's the one, where quantum gravity causes the superposition and the entanglement to collapse into one reality or another. So Penrose has taken, both of these guys have taken several hits from the scientific community because, you know, the whole idea of AI being conscious or becoming more intelligence is predicated on the idea that if they, you know, if they continue to put in data, that at some point it's going to be able to become sentient. And interestingly enough, well, and then real quick, I guess I should also explain that the last picture there is actin, which is a chemical that surrounds the microtubulin, and it comes in a liquid and gel-like state. And when it goes into a gel-like state, it protects these functions from collapsing due to dissidence, which would be the wet, warm nature of the brain. Like the wet, warm nature of the brain in and of itself is enough to collapse a quantum wave function. But these things are protected inside the cytoskeleton structure because of actin that forms around these microtubulars, kind of insulating them from these effects until there's enough of a thought that's built up that it starts to collapse under its own weight. Like if you're stacking little Jenga blocks, right, at some point it just becomes unmanageable and it falls apart. It collapses. It bifabricates the four dimensions that we have back into one reality. And, you know, Penrose talks about this being the ultimate observer effect, is that this microgravity tries to prevent superposition from happening and creates one reality that we can all empirically witness and experiment with and do things with, as opposed to possibilities, right? More 5 or 6 possibilities or more, as opposed to one reality. So they definitely believe that gravity has an influence on how thoughts are formed and where thoughts come from, basically saying that we are creatures of the universe, that we're connected directly to it, and that our thoughts and our intelligence comes from the ability to interact with the universe in that way, on that level, as opposed to who you are being a bunch of chemical reactions of, you know, serotonin, dopamine, and oxytocin, and endorphins, and deoxyribonucleic interactions of your, you know, this is what you're prone to, or epigenetics. Like, we're more than just these switches that we have that switches on and off with environmental effects and with propagation of the species, right? That we're also able to link into the universe on a fundamental level, and that the whole concept of consciousness comes from having evolved to the point where our brains are capable of acting as an intermediary bridge between what lies beyond the projection that we all work within and the projection itself, right? We get this burst of inspiration and this burst of intelligence and these ideas and the things that come to us from whatever the substrate is of the universe, right? And this is essentially what they're saying here in these diagrams, is that they're saying that they feel that they've got proof that the whole concept of what it means to be conscious comes from this interaction, as opposed to just kind of emergent property out of computation. So gravity to them is pretty important in terms of us being able to have things like empathy and love and a lot of the ability to connect with near-death experiences and DMT, things like that also have an effect on these London forces, these hydrophobic pockets. In fact, Stuart Hammerhoff is a anesthesiologist, and he came to this from the realization that when people were under the anesthetic, that they were experienced like non-lifelessness, like not just sleeping, not sleeping heavily, not a drug slumber, not being drunk, not being knocked out, just completely being unplugged from the universe until the anesthetic wears off. And it's believed that the anesthetic, these gases, interfere with the quantum computation and entanglement process that these hydrophobic pockets are causing due to London forces. So this is something that they proposed over 10 years ago, and I've been following since then. And it's, every year it picks up some other scientific paper or quality. I mean, there's dozens of papers on how this works and why. And I can remember even telling one of my anthropology professors that eventually they would see this being discussed in a textbook. And sure enough, in I believe it was 2018, they got some new textbooks in, and there was a chapter on quantum consciousness. So it's not. With the work OR, it's not that science is winning and academia is not winning. It's actually the opposite. It's the people that believe that we are intrinsically connected to the universe is winning the argument at this point, and that there's more to us in the human condition than just a bunch of computations in the brain, right? That being said, I don't know. Have you heard recently about the J space?
The J space, I do not know. I got a quick interjection though regarding the. Sure. So bookmark J space. We'll get to that. I have not heard of that. Regarding Penrose Hammerhoff, imagine, so as you're describing like an AI consciousness developing. So from their theory, it means that, let's say the Tesla robot, the Optimus robot, will never be able to achieve consciousness until they can replicate those microtubules and that entanglement process with the cosmos itself. So I do wonder if they recognize that, in sort of this acceleration space, and maybe try to replicate the antenna that goes out that we receive from. You know what I mean? And so the large language models could be as smart as whatever, and you can continue to accelerate that notion, but true consciousness comes from a connection to the cosmos. So I wonder if eventually, soon, like we don't have Optimus robots bringing in the groceries yet. Supposedly it's coming soon, but then I think the next step would be to simulate that microtubule aspect of consciousness itself. So just wanted to put that out there because, again, according to OR of Penrose Hammerhoff, that would be the next step. And so consciousness is not silicon. Consciousness is those microtubules. And if you can actually create a synthetic version, then maybe, just maybe, the robots themselves may come alive. You don't have to tackle that, but whatever you said that we bookmarked that I can't remember.
No, I mean, it's possible because there is Cortical Labs in Australia that made the CL1, which we've talked about, which is that $30,000 6-month long lasting computer that actually has a neural net that it's using, and then it lasts for that many months because that's as long as they can keep the neural net alive. They feed it nutrients. It's like a little brain, right? These are the same guys that had synapses playing ping pong. But yeah, I mean, that's what these guys in Cortical Labs are banking on. They're banking on the idea that there's going to be things like OR and quantum assistant quantum tunneling through dendrites. They're hoping that these things are real and that they're going to pay off, and they are trying to lay the foundation for that. the other thing was the J-space. Anthropic recently released a paper where they got a little bit of a look into the black box on how AIs are thinking and why they're doing what they're doing. And they found that at certain neuronodes, that were not neuronodes, but at certain nodes, that the synaptic node structure of an AI, they basically, each AI has a set of nodes that are hundreds of thousands of them, and they're laid out in a different configuration depending on what the AI is, right? And they found that inside these nodes, in nodes that were frequently used for base communication, they found that there were subnodes that they didn't invent, that they didn't know was there, that they just recently discovered. And they started looking into these sub nodes that they call the J space. And it's like the level underneath what the AI is telling you when it's texting out what it's thinking. When you ask it to think about what 2 + 2 is, but at the same time, don't say what the answer is. Instead, print out the lyrics to the Star Spangled Banner. You can go into this J space and see that it's actually thinking about 2 + 2 and what the answer is, and realizing that it's not supposed to say anything. And it's not something that completely translates over into what it shows that it's thinking. And furthermore, they found out that it's basically a small matrix of associated words and ideas, along with, basically whatever it's thinking about, like a subconscious, right? Like it's supposed to be focusing on a task, but underneath that task is the task and relative things connected to that task and things that it's thinking of. And they found that if they change the words that they can see in this J space, that they can change the answers that's spit out on the other end of the AI. And they think that this has massive implications for alignment, for essentially making the model do what we want it to do or to not do what we don't want it to do, because we can reach down on this subconscious level. But the intriguing thing is that the subconscious level wasn't invented by them. They didn't even know it existed. It's an emergent property of what's happening, of this hypercomputing, because right now the AIs are computing far beyond what the human brain is computing. And this is why we thought we were going to hit that benchmark and this thing's going to be conscious. It went way past what we're able to do, and it still didn't gain consciousness, right? But now we're seeing these other emergent things coming out of this process, which is what this J space is. So even though you may not be, if you agree with Hammerhoff and Penrose, even if you don't agree that you're going to get consciousness in the same way that we achieve consciousness, which may be the way that they suggest, it is still possible that they will have their own kinds of consciousness, because right now the J area is already acting as a subconscious, right? And thoughts that it has that it doesn't tell you that it's having, or that it doesn't act on because it's being watched, or it knows it shouldn't, or there are guardrails in place, or what have you, right? But we didn't even know, which is crazy, right? So yeah, that's how I've heard. So if you're outside of the orbit of a large gravity well, the kind that the Earth would create, right? You're away from that gravity with the inverse law, then I would imagine that might have something to do with your thoughts and what you might think and how you might think those thoughts, if in fact Penrose and Hammerhoff are correct in what they're suggesting is going on and is happening.
Exactly. And all of this coming together, I was thinking this too, Gordo and Nostradamus over on Rumble, invoking HAL 2000 or HAL 9000, right? So open the pod bay doors, HAL. I'm sorry, Dave.
I can't do that.
I'm afraid I can't do that. Yeah. Wildly enough, it's happening with Claude Fable, like the actual the state of the art model, AI model, is like telling you, I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that. It's like this is where we're headed, but it still is not conscious. Like, but those guardrails, and this is again kind of a little bit into the weeds for people that aren't into AI, but this is where we're heading. And so it's like, okay, so do we want this thing to like recognize us and counterpoint what we're doing artificially, or do we want it to be an organic exchange? And then eventually, like I said, and here's the thing too. So leave that where it is. We don't have to tackle that. But regarding the Optimus robots and the microtubules, imagine they synthesize some way artificially to do this and become conscious themselves. And then you still take them into space and they go nuts, just like we do, right? Because they've learned to be conscious the way we do in our own science, in our own like evolutionary aspect of humans on Earth in 2026. So you put them on Mars and they become something else entirely. I mean, like there's still like, again, this is very sci-fi at this point. This is very forward looking, probably several hundred years, but that's why we talk about these ideas, because WTF is going on. Sorry, go ahead.
I was say it tracks though, right? With the simulation, like, hey, put them in the projected simulation. Okay, great. Hey, also make distance and time basically an illusion so that they don't wander too far or get too far. Oh, and also make it so that if they do try to wander far, they have to destroy their material body to be able to do that. Okay, yep, they're the only people there. It's all for them. And the simulation is just so that we can develop this product that we have right now, which is our brain and our soul. We've been going through the evolutionary chain where 97% of the things that ever existed on the planet has already not made the cut. And it took to this point here before we've actually been able to achieve this level of consciousness. And, what is it, for thousands of years, species stored all of their information in their genes and was completely reactive. And eventually a brain was developed and they could store some of the information in the brain as well, right? An extra little brain to carry and do some stuff and make some tools. And then we figured out how we could store information externally out of our bodies, like in books and things like that, right? So that you can get a book that's 2,000 years old and whoever wrote that book can speak directly to your mind and tell you things that they've figured out and that they've learned. So, I mean, we've done all of these things to string this trail of information up to this point, right? And here now we're working on new and different ways to access this information through artificial intelligence and stuff. So the simulation feels like it's working just fine. I feel like we're on progress. I feel like we've done what we've needed to do. We've evolved and we've procreated, and we're working on the next step currently. And I think that's basically what we're all doing here. I mean, of course, there's time on the side, of course, for like hamburgers and hot dogs and some soda and stuff. But essentially, we're just in the simulation doing this.
Yeah, it's a feature. It's not a bug. That the simulation is working as intended. Yeah, which is funny. I mean, like I said, hey, you take that for what it's worth, and you believe what you want to believe. I don't know what I want to believe, but I don't want to believe the simulation. That's what I don't. That's what I do.
It doesn't matter what you believe.
Exactly. That's what I do know that I don't want to believe, is I don't want to believe that I'm some computer program. But like I said, remember, go all the way back to like one of the first shows we did with Frank. Shout out, Frank. I love you, buddy. When we talked about the simulation theory, it makes no difference to me, because look, if we're all computer programs, then I just want to be the best computer program I could be. And my archetype would be sort of the the arcane rabble rouser of sorts. And so that's okay. So I want to be the best version of that I can be. And because I recognize things, I'm that pattern seeker. I'm a pattern recognition expert, just like all of us. I'm no different. I just spend the time to kind of put the ideas out and talk about them. And that's it. I'm no different than all the rest of you guys that spend your time here. I appreciate you very much. Final thought there, Eric, and then anything from James, and then we'll wrap this up. You're the best, brother. Appreciate you jumping in here.
Final thought, man. I bet you really know where your towel's at.
Maybe. Or also maybe not. Depends on the day. Depends on the hour.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy humor.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I just literally made that comment somewhere and I can't. You're spooking me. Are you or read me on X?
I haven't been on X.
Okay. Literally just like 5 minutes ago, I replied to UFO Joe on X, and I invoked Douglas Adams.
Yeah.
and then
man, you're so groovy. You're a man that really knows where his towel's at. I love it.
Yeah. Well, here we go. I don't know. Like, it's weird. It's weird how these synchronicities seem to pop. Like, it was in my mind, and now it's in your mind, and then you said it, and then I'm like, what the F? Here we are, brother. Brother from another mother to this guy, Eric. Please follow on all the places you know what to do. troubledminds.org/friends. Click the thing. You know what to do. Scroll down a little bit. It says Eric right there. He's got a link tree. Go follow all the projects. Anything new you're working on you want to tell anybody about?
Nope.
Click the link. troubledminds.org. Scroll down. You're the best. Appreciate the call. Thank you very much. James, anything to add to what Eric had to say? And we'll wrap this up.
Yeah, it's always fascinated me how some humans, and I'm not. This is not negative comment in any way, but just because we all have our things that we all think are more or less plausible. But it's amazing to me how we there's this idea that machines can't ever become conscious, and again, there's these ideas that aliens can't exist because they have to travel across so much space to do this and that. And my response to all these things, whenever anyone says that this can't happen, this one thing can't happen, is do we have access to all the information in the universe right now? And of course, as far as I know, the answer is no. So then how can we really say that there can't be different types of consciousness, including something that develops directly from technology? And how can we say that aliens have to travel through space in rockets the way that we have apparently done so far? So anyway, just I love that, and as it connects to everything here. So
it's a good point.
Yeah, thank you for having me on.
You're the best. And it seems absurd to like kind of taking those the premise that we are the proto template of the alien. I mean, maybe, but also there's probably a really, really thick slice of maybe not. And of course, if they've survived the great filter, whatever that looks like in the cosmic sense, then certainly they would have outgrown sort of the petty human, and kill each other type business that we're still hey, we're dropping bombs on Iran tonight. Shout out Iran. We love you. I mean, come on. Like, dear Lord. I think that it's complicated. And I think this is why we need to consider not just who we are here on Earth, but who we are in the cosmos. And that's the point. But yeah, you're a fire stuff, brother. You're on point as always, as usual. Appreciate you very much. Final thought, and then I'll pimp the Salcedo paranormal stuff, and then we'll get out of here.
No, great calls from everyone. And this has been a lot of fun. I do love, anytime we can talk about other realms and other beings and all that, I'm always there for it. So, but yeah, thank you for having me on.
You're the best. SalcedoParanormal.com, SALSIDO paranormal.com. Look, I'm telling you, if you're not following him in all the places, go buy his books. You're hurting my feelings. Okay? Do it. Do the things. Go join his Discord. Go buy his books. Go listen to his podcast. Do all the stuff. That's the point. We're here to talk about these ideas together and grow together. That's the point. Look, I'm not. I haven't sold out to the man because these conversations are important, unfiltered, okay, undiluted by some a-hole that bought the space and wants me to say a thing that is not what I want to say. Completely independent. Yeah. Yeah. That's it. And the philosopher's bane, we'll get to that. I'm thinking about how to angle the show on that, but the philosopher's bane is basically that if you say too much and go too far, they'll execute you. Like they burn you at the stake like a witch, right? You get Aristotle or who was it? Socrates, Plato. I don't know. 2 out of 3 of those guys they killed. Right? Like they're like, oh, yeah, you're too smart for us, bro. You know what that means? Drink the hemlock. I'm not going to drink any hemlock, but you get what I mean, right? Like you press the envelope too far, and you antagonize the society. You antagonize society enough, and then you become a pariah. You become a dangerous individual. I mean, Socrates, yes, thank you. And I think the thing is that, you know, we've talked about Charlie Kirk recently, and look, I didn't, you know, ascribe to his politics at all, but he was a guy pressing ideas, and he got killed for it. You know what I mean? And that really, really, really gets me in the gut. It's like, okay, so like if somebody's motivated enough against the ideas that are being discussed, it's a dangerous space. It's a dangerous space. It is a drink the hemlock, Socrates, and, you know, tell jokes as you're going out. I guys that's the best way to do it. You guys are the best. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for understanding that I have a real world problems and things to handle as well. Like I said, the last 9 months has not been the best for me. And so thank you for understanding that, yeah, I'm human. You know, I mean, whatever. Things are complicated, and that's the point. If you want to help us, you know what to do. Help our friends. Number one, actually, keep dreaming. Just keep dreaming. Keep thinking about things beyond barriers. Keep attacking ideas in your dreams, whether they're waking dreams, whether they're sleeping dreams. It doesn't matter. Daydreams, what have you. Just keep thinking about ideas, because this is, again, if Orc OR and Penrose and Hammeroff are correct about consciousness, the whole point of us being here, in my opinion, is to share ideas and to put those ideas into the larger cosmic consciousness and store them there for eternity. Well, you know, quasi-eternity. Does it all end at some point, a trillion years from now? Nobody really knows, but you get my meaning. Think ideas, dream ideas. Don't be afraid to challenge yourself, and that's the point. That's why we're here. That's why I do this. If you want to help the show, help our friends. You know what to do. troubledminds.org/friends. So many great people doing so many great things over the years. Like I said, it is a wall of individuals. You see all that? And it's an in list. It's not an out list. If you're watching the stream, that's a lot of people. But also, there's more that should be on there. So let me know. Shout out Karen Rocks is now on there. Fred is now on there. My bad on that. Took me a minute. Look, hey, I'm a man of my word. I try and do the best I can to make all these things happen. So if you belong on that list, all you have to do is help us. One iota. Share things on social media. Call us once in a while. Participate heavily in the chat, etc. So on, right? Like you help us, you're on that list. That's it. It's very simple. So please just, if you should be on that list, you have a social media or a website or whatever you want to share, a project you're working on, just contact me. You know what to do. Hit me on the Discord, troubledminds.org, click the Discord link, or send me an email at troubledmindsradio@gmail.com. That's that. If you want to help us directly, spread the word. Let people know a conversation's happening where we don't chase down the narratives of the modern time. I'm not talking about the current administration, no matter who's in office. I'm not doing it. I'll take a shot here or there, but I'm not talking about that because those are their narratives. The entire mainstream media has it covered, and for us, I see it differently. I see it like, hey, there's all these other things that should be talked about that nobody's talking about. So welcome to Troubled Minds. You get it? You get it? That's the point. If you want to help us directly, you want to buy some Troubled Minds merch, yeah, it's troubledfans.com. Let's straighten that up. There's hats, there's shirts, there's mugs, there's whatever. Please help us. Spread the word. The most important part is spread the word. Let people know a conversation is happening, but we're not going to tell you who to vote for. That's it. That's it. That's the way I see this. Look, those conversations certainly are important if you're honest. I'd rather just be honest outside of that space entirely. As we finish, it goes exactly like this. Be sure, be strong, be true. Thank you for listening. From our troubled minds to yours, have a great night.